Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Danny podcast. I'm your unfiltered host, Danny. I was just quietly having a laugh to myself just then. I have had a little bit of a fail this morning, which just comes naturally these days. But anyway, I thought I'd share it with you because it cracked me up and I'm just like, God damn it. It is a beautiful spring morning here in Cromwell. The days are starting to get longer. September is around the corner and I came home from the gym. I opened all the windows and doors and I was having a shower. You thought I was going to stop there, didn't you? No, got dressed, and I don't know if anyone knows this, but before I prepare starting my Monday morning podcasts, I do a little bit of a vocal warm-up just with my soundboard, and I just, make myself sound half decent for 45 minutes so that you guys don't get ear infections. But basically, I don't know where this has come from, but I kind of half pie sing Adele's Hello into the microphone, just to see what it sounds like. So I was just like, hello, hello, hello. And then my neighbor looks over the fence on like a ladder and he's like, hello. And I just was like, shit. So I had to shut the whole house up. And look, it's not that I am even remotely like scared of the fact that, people can hear me or whatever. I'm a debt collector that works from home. Of course people can hear me. But the fact that I didn't know that neighbor in particular knew that I did this, it must have just looked like or sounded like karaoke on a Monday with me, to be quite fair. And I just cracked up. I was like, oh, sorry. Anyway, let's get into it. It is the 21st pod, and it's a pod that I hope is just going to come out from my heart because it's something that's really near and dear to me. And I think when it's one of those topics, it's just natural. I don't have to force a story. I don't have to sort of prove any point or anything like that. This is not the pod for advice. This is not the episode for advice. This is for life experiences in the past 24 years of me coming and going from Australia. I know, right? It's crazy. And when I started sort of brain mapping about, what I'd been up to and all the sort of stuff, I could talk forever. This would be like a 4-part series. But as it is, the cusp of me going back to Brisbane for my cousin's wedding, I am just absolutely over the moon to be able to talk about this because I know that there are people listening to my podcast that know of my time in Australia and that have been a part of my life since I have been, going to school there and living there as a young adult and everything else. But what people don't know is that what I talk about, like what I probably post on socials compared to anything else is only maybe a small portion. But what actually goes into just actually getting things up off the ground, there's definitely some fun stories in that. So let's start in 1999, and that was my first actual destination trip to Australia. It was my uncle's wedding, and I'm very happy to say that my first time as a traveller, I know I was born in England and I came out on an aeroplane, but this is the real first trip that I can remember being on a plane, and that was to the Gold Coast. It is commonly known as Surfers Paradise, and it is a stone's throw from the border of New South Wales, and it sits comfortably in the state of Queensland, 30 minutes south of Brisbane. So, I'm talking white sand beaches, crazy bars and restaurants and theme parks. It's like a kid's wonderland. So you can imagine me and my brother going to my uncle's wedding, and when he married this Gold Coast lady who sounds like Kath from Kath and Kim. She is the apple of my eye. I couldn't imagine him with anyone else. I absolutely adore her. I was just absolutely wrapped, and we had the best week exploring and just, I think I fell in love with the Gold Coast then and there, and that was in 99. But I was kind of back in Queenstown, not doing too good at high school. And my mum is quite close with her brother. She only has one, just like I only have Tommy. I have a couple of brothers from another mother, but Tommy is it, just like my mum's brother is it for her. And I think it sort of sparked something in her, like, Okay, so my brothers just got married. Let's go and move to Aussie and spend a bit more closer time. And my uncle's been in Australia probably most of his life. I don't really know a time when he lived in New Zealand. So it was very easy for us just to sort of slot in and start schooling and everything else. And, my uncle had this pop up family. He married his wife, and his wife already had a daughter who a year ago I was at the daughter's wedding. So it's all, very, I don't know, family orientated. And so from 2000 to 2004, I did grade or fourth form, fifth form, sixth form, seventh form. That meant absolutely nothing to me because, like I said to Mum, I'm not going to spend much time in Australia or have these qualifications from high school transpire to anything in New Zealand. So let's just turf it and have fun. Uh, Basically, in seventh form, when we sat our exams, I turned up, wrote my name on the paper, got my credits, and didn't do anything else. Like, I put in a little bit of effort. Like, don't get me wrong, I had my accounting exam up my thigh under my skirt. But I didn't really come out of schooling with any sort of qualifications. Let's just say everything that I do in my career is from street smarts, not book smarts. I'm not one that has a degree or any sort of formal qualifications. That time at Victoria Point State High School was definitely where I made some really, really good friends. Friends that I'm still in contact with now. And I couldn't imagine my life without my best mate who is picking me up from the airport in 2 days' time. And that's a 20 plus year friendship. So it was very important that my mum, she only kept me in schooling in Australia just so that I finished it and had those experiences. But I knew that in 2004, when we were moving back to New Zealand, for whatever reason, I think my mum just genuinely didn't she didn't want to live anywhere else except Queenstown. So we moved back, and I knew at that stage in my life, I will be back. These aren't friends that you just make in high school and you walk away from. No sirree, Bob. This is something that I have to keep, putting heaps of effort into and making sure I don't lose contact and keep those connections. And this is back in the day, pre-social media. So I actually have hundreds of emails from all my friends at high school that would keep in contact that way. And I actually printed some out, not to, read out to you guys or anything like that, but some to just keep in my own sort of storage as, this is what we used to talk about back in, 2007 when I started drinking. I mean, it's so fun. And those are the friends that I've kept for life, basically. So it was easy enough once my mum moved. She fell in love. She moved to Mackay, which is north of Brisbane, like significantly, where it's very humid. And I knew that I was going to eventually end up back in Australia, but just how that was going to happen, I couldn't tell you. So when she was up in Mackay, I'd visited a few times, and it was kind of one of those really scary locations where when you went to bed at night, and I'm not saying like she was like a terrible mum or a housewife or whatever, but when you went to bed at night, I felt like I needed to untuck my bed to make sure there was no snakes living in the curve of the sheet being tucked into the mattress. There was too many animals in Mackay that was freaking me out. So Mum was always like, oh, we've got this really cool house in Mackay, come move up, rah. And I thought, no, I can't do that. So this is when I'm in my prime flatting days in Queenstown. Like, I'm talking 17 flatmates, 2.5 years. I sort of learned a lot in that time, but I also knew that, no, I have to get back to Australia. It just played on my mind. And I wasn't really doing the best at Vodafone. I was like, this is boring. I'm just a retail consultant. I don't want to be like 2IC or store manager. I just don't want the pressures. So when Mum moved down to Sydney, this weird sort of light bulb moment went off, and I was like, okay, I've done 10 years in Queenstown. I'm going to go to Sydney. And it was all right. I did this stupid 6-week interview process to be a consultant for Optus and work in telecommunications there. I used to commute over an hour to and from work each day just to, hold a job. It was this massive city where you could get lost and no one knew who I was. And there was just so much culture. I didn't really make too many friends. Like, there was some work friends. It was kind of one of those places that I just thought that, again, I wasn't settled. So I said to Mum, I'm going to attempt to move up to Brisbane and do this by myself. I had to put my cat in a cat cage and send her back to Queenstown. Mum had broken up with her boyfriend. She went back to Queenstown. I decided randomly one day I'm going to take Mum and Tom to Bali on $99 flights from Sydney. And then on the way back, I'm going to pop into Queenstown for a weekend. And I dropped some news on Mum and I said, I'm going to move, but I'm going to get a relocation car from Sydney to Brisbane and just drive my life up. And this is where she was like, oh, I'm a little bit apprehensive, but I know where your heart is. You've got to get back to your friends. And so I did it, and it was so fun. It's one of those things where if you just do it, it just doesn't matter. Like, just do it. And it took 12 hours. There was a whole bunch of drama. Mum lost me on the tracking app. She thought that, truckies had killed me or whatever. However, it was definitely my own life, and that was 2014 to 2019 in living in Brisbane. And I only left Queenstown because nothing was really transpiring from my career and everything. So I knew that for me, I had to get out of telecommunications, and that meant, doing a little spot of some stupid work in Intrapilli for Optus. But eventually finding my feet at Suncorp Insurance and getting some of those friends behind me, working with my best mate, it was so fun. I don't know if I've actually told anyone about the story where I applied for the job at my insurance gig, and I was so unhappy at my Intrapilli gig. I jammed tissue in my mouth and pretended that I had an infected tooth and that I wanted to, leave for the day. I made my face look swollen just because I didn't want to be at work. But I went to a job interview, and on the train I thought I had packed leg moisturizer because I had to change into some formal corporate attire, like out of my Optus uniform and into, a little black dress. And I thought I packed moisturizer. I went to rub that on my legs, and no, it was shower cream, so it foamed up, and oh my god, drama. Had to get the tissue out of my jaw and make sure I looked like half decent. Anyway, I wasn't hired on that job based on my qualifications or any sort of experience. It was based off the fact that I knew old mate, who's my best mate. So I already sort of won everyone over, and that's where I found my feet when I landed the corporate job and Tilly, my Mazda 3, was brought. It was my first real car that was $7,500. I ticked up on finance. And I thought, yes, okay, I've got the job, I've got the car, now I need the apartment. And I tell you, shopping for a high-rise apartment in a city is just, it's like one of my favorite things. And when I fell into the fact that I was going to be moving into Fortitude Valley, it just makes me happy even thinking about those times now. And I'm like, freaking post, 3 years on from moving out of that place. Jeez. So once I signed the lease and I had this high-rise, and I just thought, wow, I'm actually doing it. Oh my gosh, I had to furnish the apartment. I spent 2 nights sleeping on a mattress on the floor with no fridge. I had Uber Eats both days because I was like, I haven't got a fridge. I don't know how to keep anything cold. This is Brisbane weather, rah-de-rah. So we came across this marketplace ad where this girl was selling her whole 1-bedroom apartment, probably south of Brisbane somewhere. I can't even remember. And I just remember saying to my best mate, just get a trailer. I don't care. Oh, we got a trailer off my friend who worked for Suncorp actually. And we drove 2 cars down to this chick's house, and we literally jammed all this furniture. What was it? It was a dining suite, a bed, a fridge, a washing machine, and a couch. onto two vehicles and a trailer. And I just remember it not quite fitting. It just, the Jenga of putting it all together and making it all fit nicely wasn't happening. And I remember looking back at my best mate and just being like, I don't give two shits. You're going to make it fit because I'm not doing 2 trips. You know, if I pay this chick for all this housewares and I come back for a second trip, I don't know if she'd let me in. Like, I was so terrified because, you know, when you work in insurance, you get very triggered to the fact that you could get ripped off. So for me, oh, I tell you, I've still got photos of how stupid we looked with this big, you know, trailer stacked inappropriately, and my car couldn't see out the back window. Oh, I just think, what the hell are you doing? But once I was settled in my apartment, I was so happy. And that's the honest truth. Not only was it my little piece of heaven, I was living by myself. I got to do everything, you know, independently. I had my best mate just living down the road. I had my corporate job and my car. I could go anywhere I wanted to. I knew I'd made it, you know, and I was so happy and content. I was like, yes, we're doing it. The apartment life came with such fun drama. Oh my God. I said to Mum the other night, what was the one part about me living in my apartment that you just remember and you laugh about? And she was like, what the frig was up with the free food that was always left in the foyer? When I say my apartment, it wasn't a normal apartment. It had a gym, it had a lifestyle pool table area, it had a rooftop social area, it had a massive swimming pool and barbecue area. Like, I'm saying it was like a resort, like somewhere you'd pay to stay in a hotel. So to be in the foyer, I don't know, I do remember it quite vividly. Why is there always someone that bakes bread and leaves bread in the foyer? I remember the one time that I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. And I brought this ciabatta bread back to my room and I thought, I'd better text my friend just in case I die because there's like some foreign bloody drug ingredient in this bread and I pass out or something. So I was like, hey, I've just got this ciabatta bread from the foyer. If I don't respond in like 2 hours, it's because I've been like, you know, put to sleep somehow. But we had like a M&M's chocolate wrap, and he used to leave blocks of M&M's chocolate in the foyer. For me, probably like, I mean, it was 18 floors. There was like 10 apartments on each floor. What's that? Like easily a shitload of apartments. We got this idea one day to do a letterbox drop. And I think what was written on the bit of paper was something really funny like, if you're going to shoot a porno, please clean up in the elevator afterwards. And I just remember being on the Facebook page for the tower and people saying, who was shooting a porno in the elevator? Throwing things off the balcony. Look, I'm not proud of this. But I was on level 10 and it was still very close to the pool area. And I remember the Triple J countdown one day where people were still in the pool way past the curfew of being, I think the pool was cut off at 10 o'clock. And I just got really shitty one day. People were still partying and I launched like a bread roll at the roof of the canopy of this pool area. And this massive bang happened and everyone was like, who's throwing bread in the pool? But oh, there's just so many things. I would leave things in random places. Like on my last day in the tower, I left my mattress in the hallway, and it wasn't until like 3 days after I'd moved out that some guy was like, you guys, I'm going to have guests to my apartment and there's a dirty old mattress outside. I would literally lug this mattress down the hallway and leave it in front of people's apartments. It was so fun. The practical jokes were very hectic. I mean, that shit's still ongoing, even from living in another country. I still post inappropriate shit on my tower's Facebook page all the time. But one time we had a party and someone left a fart bomb behind and I pulled it out of my bookcase and I was like, what's this? And I pressed it and it inflated and I could not get to the door in time and it popped. And I was just sitting there clapping like a seal. No noise was coming out. I was just laughing my head off. My house smelled terrible. I'd had the air conditioning on as well, which stresses me out because I never knew how big my power bill was going to be. And I didn't want to like lose all my cold air to like stale hallway air. So I couldn't open my door. I just had to sit with the smell. um, but then, there was all the drunk times that I came home and I left inappropriate shit in the lifts as well. So, I mean, God. I had a really hot neighbor who kept his like apartment very closed up. Like we could all pull back our windows and have this weird like fake balcony. He had like tinfoil in the windows. I'm not saying he was like a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but he was really hot. And he had a puppy that he always used to walk up and down the hallway. And I was like, hello. We had a fire alarm one time that a guy across the hallway from me fell asleep while cooking drunk and flooded the whole level. I had taken a sleeping tablet that night, so I woke up to this terrible fire alarm sound that was in my apartment. I thought my apartment was on fire. That's how bad it was. And it wasn't until I poked my head out, there was like firemen in the hallway bashing this guy's door down, and this flood of water came out because the sprinklers were raining down on him asleep on his couch. That I was like, shit, like I've had, fair income, a couple of vodka sodas a couple of nights, and I haven't even cooked and made a mess of my apartment. But every time the fire alarm went off, which was quite a lot, there was a lot of people burning toasts. I kind of always felt like I got caught off guard, and I had to always make sure I was wearing apartment pants because there was this massive joke at work that Danny would run down to the fireman without her pants on because she was working from home in just a singlet and undies. So I had to always make sure that my apartment pants were near the door in case the fire alarm went off and I had to inappropriately run somewhere. So, I mean... that whole time just cracks me up because there was so many inappropriate moments, so many. And I just loved it. I love it all. And then I said to Mum, what was the best part of when you visited me? And she was like, oh, the pink dot sales. And there was a shop that was, I don't know, just kind of down the road from where I lived. That was where all the pharmacies like dumped all their products that, I don't know, if they didn't want to sell them or they couldn't sell them or whatever, and they'd sell it off real cheap. And Mum just had a field day. It was called a pink dot sale. And when that pharmacy thing shut down, it was the end of an era, I tell you. But when you get to the counter with a basket full of shit that's like pharmacy grade, cosmetics and tanning and, I don't know, weight loss, tubs of protein and everything else, Mum would have a field day. I remember looking at the till one time and it was well over $750, and she just pushed this button and magically it dropped down to barely 60. I mean, everything was like 50 cents. So a big part of my Australia life was definitely Mum visiting, but me also being hyper aware of where sales were to make sure that she got the best out of her trips. And then, living in such a hub of Brisbane and being able to be in control of your apartment, I would always just absolutely thrive on the adventures that I got to experience and travel. So I had a Jetstar credit card, which goes hand in hand in Australia because Jetstar is kind of considered a major airline. It's super cheap pricing and everything else. But when you book a flight, there's always that weird like card payment fee. However, if you had a Jetstar credit card, not only do you get like perks, like you hear about sales before everyone else, but you got that card payment fee waived. They would upgrade your seats. They would do little things for you as a person that would have the credit card. And I just saw it as like an opportunity to just get out there. And oh my God, I was here, there and everywhere, zipping around the place. But yeah, it was super fun just to be near an airport and just, shut my apartment door one day, Uber to the airport, and just boom, where you off to? Well, who cares? I'm going somewhere. So, I'd also have nights on the Gold Coast. We'd always, take turns as to who would book something and we'd have a night out. I mean, it's just so much fun. And that sort of transpired into my fascination for the V8 supercars. Not only was it cheap to follow them around and be amongst all of that, but that sort of started my whole love of jets because for some reason V8 supercars and very fast jet planes go hand in hand. So, yeah, that was a big part of my Australian adventure. I had a very good friend of mine. We used to go to Gold Coast, and we even made it to Ipswich one time, which was like, oh, shut your windows, hold your bags. But, but one time we went out to see a driver, and I just managed to be at the Super Cheap Auto, and he was doing a raffle, and I won a Gurney water blaster, and I just cracked up because he was just such a fun person, Chaz Mostert. But we went to dinner at this random restaurant, and Jamie Whincup and Shane Van Gisbergen were doing a signing there. And I told Jamie Whincup, oh, I just come from Chaz Mostert's signing at the Super Cheap, and I won a Gurney. And having Jamie Whincup offer me $20 for my Gurney still cracks me up to this day, because I was like, nah, mate, I know that it's worth more than that, and I'm going to make some money off this thing. Well, I'm pretty sure I sold it for like $50 to some random from my apartment. But also, that's another big part of apartment life, is that when you live in a high rise, there's certain sense like safety measures. So you could sell weird Facebook Marketplace shit from the foyer and then run back up to your apartment and no one knew where you lived. Now I don't sell anything because I'm like, I don't want people knowing where I live. But you know, with all the work friends from Suncorp, there definitely was major perks. And another thing that Mum reminded me of the other day was the Suncorp Social Club. And it was kind of once a month, and it was something that you really look forward to. You pay your $20, and it was all you could drink for 2 hours, 3 hours, I can't even remember, at a random location in Brisbane. And the shit we used to get up to, oh my God, stockpiling Prosecco was my thing. It definitely contributed to the person I am today, because I could put away the Prosecco like no one. But also on every Friday, if you worked in the office at Suncorp, the drinks trolley would come past, and that was just the highlight of my life. Like, I would literally stand up from my desk like a meerkat and be like, oh, drinks trolley's coming, get your gold coin ready. Now I have a drinks trolley at home about 10 minutes before I knock off on a Friday, and I'm like, oh, I've got to go get my drinks trolley. It's not the same. It is definitely not the same. But when I sort of brought my Mazda 3 Tilly, we called it Matilda, it was my first Australian car, put me in a bit of debt, that bloody thing, but it was a massive adventure having a vehicle in Australia, that's for sure, because I could go here, there, and everywhere. And when shit broke, my uncle would come along. And one time my rear vision mirror fell off the windscreen, and he was in France, so I had to duct tape it back on. I was like, oh, well, my mechanic's in France, so I have to make improvisations here, people. But in saying that, as I got older, when I did come back to Brisbane, my mum's cousins, one of them is actually getting married in a couple of days' time, they had all turned of age, and there's nothing more fun than hitting the purse with your cousins, so they actually hold a massive part of my life, and between them all having babies and getting married in the next couple of weeks, it was a huge turning point for myself to get back to Australia, not just for the friends and the work and the apartment and the car and all those things, but also just, having that special family bond as well. And even though I'm over here in New Zealand, they've been visiting and done these amazing life things, and I just can't wait to spend more of my time just hanging out with them, to be quite fair. When it comes to why I left, well, it's one of those things. Honestly, if I'm really honest, I worked really hard at my insurance job, and I had a really terrible manager there at some point early on, who didn't know the role and struggled to teach me how to be a better consultant. And I actually worked really hard one year, because one year I didn't make it to getting my bonus because I struggled where I didn't know I was struggling, and I definitely needed some help, didn't know where to ask for it, failed really terribly. So when it came to the next year of me actually working really hard and making it to my bonus, the bonus was really terribly low, and I thought, you know what, stuff it, I'm better than this. So when they handed me my bonus and I looked at the envelope and I just was like, that is disgusting, I handed my resignation to my boss. And It was November 2019 when I moved back to New Zealand. It was one of those really great turning moments where I had done what I needed to do. I spent 5 years in Brisbane being just absolutely independent and free and making really fun life choices. Some good, some not so good. And honestly, the best memories that I have actually come up on Facebook memories of like funny Facebook posts, like that time where I had like 12 vodka sodas after work on a Friday and then ordered Uber Eats and fell asleep. And then I was trying to get people to comment on my Facebook post to keep me awake because I was like, if I fall asleep, I'm going to like miss my food. And I fell asleep. But also the Lipton bikes, that was before Lime scooters. So they had these stupid heavy bikes that you physically couldn't pick up and put in your car to like steal. But I have this really funny video on my phone of one night that I drove a Lipton bike home. Well, no, I didn't drive it home. I maybe took it from a bar because they were like docked everywhere around Brisbane. And I woke up to an email from Brisbane City Council saying that I didn't dock the bike back in its docking station. And I just was like, shit, when did I hire it? So I rang the lady at the council and I was just like, oh, I docked it back at Fortitude Valley train station, but I didn't hear the beep because there was a live band playing outside the train station. And she was like, no worries, love. I was literally texting my best mate and I was like, when the hell did we hire a Lipton bike? I went to get out of bed because he was like, you better check your apartment because what if you put it in the lift and you brought it into your apartment? And my right foot was buggered because I missed the pedal and I like just smashed my leg into the gutter. And I was like wounded. Like that's how terribly drunk I was. But I honestly could say that my time in Brisbane was the drunkest adventures and the safest adventures as well. I mean, how many times did I get down on all fours and look at the Uber's number plate to make sure that the number plate matched my app, that I was like not getting into some random's car, which I did twice. I just absolutely have a love affair with Brisbane and I can't shake it. I love everyone that's there. I hope that everyone took something away from this podcast because there's kind of not really a reason why I left. I just thought it was time. And I wanted to sort of solidify my roots in New Zealand and get myself a few things off the ground that meant a lot to me. And I was, getting older. I had to stop being a bit of a menace, act a bit more mature and have a bit of a career aspiration. But at the end of the day, it's not about your job. It's about having these memories and life moments and experiences and you can always make money, like I've said to you guys a million times, but when can you make memories? And I've made memories here in Cromwell, but like Brisbane stuff, oh my God, I look back and I'm like, shit. But also me going to Australia in 2 days' time, I know more memories are going to be made and it's just going to add to the pile because that's where I feel like I can have a lot of fun and it's just like no judgment. There's no judgment here either. God, no one cares. But it's a different kind of fun. I don't know. I just feel different about Brisbane life. I won't move back. I get that question quite a lot. Danny, when are you moving back? No. I always said that I would never really solidly find love in Australia because I didn't want to have to feel like I had to live there full time when my mum and my brother are my biggest parts of my life. And I know that they will do anything for me or without me because I can do whatever I want. But my roots to New Zealand are so strong that I just couldn't see myself being permanently situated in Brisbane. But also, it's the rat race over there. Like, you make a lot of money, but at the end of the day, like, I'm really like quality of life as over quantity. And I've said that quite a lot. Like, I would rather not make heaps of money and have a really good slow-paced lifestyle as opposed to the rat race where everything just sort of happens really quickly and, it just flies past you. So I've made the decision to come back to New Zealand in the sleepy little town of Cromwell to just have a really slow quality life. And it's just been such a dream. So, yeah, sorry, all my Aussies. You're just going to have to deal with me coming and going. And it's so funny because every time I go to Australia, the same stuff happens. It's like we're in this routine where, we all just catch up at the same time. We do all the same things, and it's fine. I mean, bars are going to open and close and everything else, but we're still going to have those times to catch up and drink margaritas and run amok. It's fine. So if I got to move on to the rest of my life updates for this pod, I wanted to share with you guys a really good... this isn't wanky. This is my good deed that I didn't realize I was actually going to do. So I went into the supermarket this morning. This only happened this morning, I tell you. It's been an absolute blur today, to be quite fair. And Mum had said last night, oh, we should do a roast before you go to Australia, because she always likes to feed me up on nutrients before I get on the plane, just in case I turn to shit. I will arrive in Australia looking like a 4, but I'll get back on the plane looking like a 2, like a bin chicken, an absolute bin bag, because I know what's going to be coming. And anyway, I was at the supermarket, I was looking at roasts, and there was these 2 older people in front of me, I don't know, I'd say 70s maybe. And this woman, she picked up this tray of meat. What was it? Honestly, I don't even pay attention to what it was. And she put it down. She looked at I assume he was her husband, could be a boyfriend, I don't know. That's cute. If they were boyfriend and girlfriend, that's so cute. She put it back on the shelf, and she just looked at him, and she just, I don't know, there was this weird thing oh my God, look at the price of meat. I can't afford this. And he held her hand and he squeezed it. And I was just standing there and I was like, oh my God. And anyway, I grabbed this piece of roast that me and Mum are going to have. We're probably going to take some to Tom on Wednesday. I'm not going to lie. And I grabbed this tray that she was holding, and I stalked around the supermarket. And just as she went to line up, honestly, I must look so stupid because the supermarket's not even that big. I lined up behind them, and then I put the tray of meat on their line of food. And then when she went to pay, I paid for the lot, the tray of food and her groceries. She burst into tears. And even the chickie at the counter was just standing there, and she was like, oh my God, I've only ever seen this on TikTok. And I was like, this is heartbreaking. Honestly, we are living in this beautiful sleepy town, and the older generation are struggling to find and buy decent food. And I didn't even think about the price of anything or what this meant to them or anything, but the fact that she was so deflated about what she had to put back on the shelf, I just was like, that's it. This is my Monday, thing that I just need to do. And quite frankly, it makes no difference to me. I would do it for, different scenarios, but I don't know. I felt like this was my time. So I did. And this lady gave me a hug, and she did a fist around my hand, and she was like, she said something like, oh, this has just brought such a light to my life. And I was like, it's okay. So I just wanted to share that with you today. I've done this weird good deed that I've kind of seen on social media myself, but I didn't really, it's not something I'm acting on as though it was presented like that. I was just, I don't know, it hit a sore spot for me, so I just wanted to share that I did that. I don't know, made me feel good. My wine of the week, the weirdest thing happened last week where I had a spot on my cheek. It was a bite, and what's really funny is my cousin that just had a baby. She had a bump on her nose, and I thought my cousin headbutted her. And I was like, oh my God, I thought you were in labor and you headbutted my cousin. And she was like, no, it's an infected pimple. Anyway, this thing on my cheek, I honestly thought was the same. And I picked it, but it was a bite, and it was rooted in my cheek. So when I was doing my skincare regime, I completely forgot that I'd picked the top of it off. And I went to put retinol on my face, and it burnt. It burnt a circle around this open wound. And I was so embarrassed. Not only am I on antibiotics right now for this damn headache / sinus infection, but I had this burn on my cheek. So I am one of those people that, like, obviously you're not supposed to drink when you're on antibiotics, but my favourite neighbour, Wilson, had her birthday last week, and I thought, oh, on Thursday, I'm definitely going to have some drinks with her, rah-de-rah. And I felt this headache come back on Friday, and I was like, motherfuck. I was so, like, getting rid of it, and then I just ruined it. So over the weekend, I decided I wasn't going to drink, and my mum actually took out her co-worker who turned 21 last week, and I was the sober driver, which was so fun. But between, the wine of the week and mum's weekend, I didn't drink anything just because I just need to get better for Australia because I know what's coming. So there isn't really a wine of the week. However, I don't know if people in Cromwell know this. I think people in Cromwell tend to go to is it Super Liquor? Whereas I go to Liquorland, and Liquorland has these 4-packs of seltzers, which is vodka and sparkling water, for $7.99, and there's different flavors. There's lemon and lime or watermelon. And honestly, since Thursday, I've had one, because on Thursday I had 4. No, but honestly, that is just like the most delicious thing. It's super light, and even the lady at the counter, she was like, even when you don't feel like drinking, just the vodka and water is just super replenishing. And I was like, all right, don't make me sound like I've just, gone without vodka or something. So, yeah, I was the sober driver for mum on the weekend. It was very cool, actually. She's funnier when she's drunk, but then she's 10 times funnier when she's hungover. So yesterday we went to Queenstown, and she was like, Danny, I'm very precious today. Like, just go easy on me. And I was sober. I was awake. I was like, when are we going? What are we doing? I want to go shopping. Right around. Wasn't shopping for me. It was shopping for my high-ab truck. I wanted to do a little shout out to my UK work husband from Vodafone. My friend James is listening to my pod, and I keep forgetting to mention this because it is relatively exciting. He actually said to me the other day in a message, Danny, it's so fun listening to you because it sounds like we're like 2 a.m. at the Bunker bar in Queenstown just catching up, and it's just really relatable. It's like you haven't changed. I'm like, oh God, I've only gotten older. I can't see myself at the Bunker at like 2 a.m. Talking about this shit anyway. But no, hey, listen, mate, can't wait to see you come back to the Southern Hemisphere where you are sorely missed. We had some really great adventures at Vodafone. I remember this one time we went to do re-merchandising with the cases for phones and stuff, and the wall like popped out, and I was just left standing there like with this wall just leaning it against nothing. I was like, this is shit, people are selling phones and here's me holding this wall because you can't get it back. And just little things that he always used to crack me up doing. I mean, we'd go out and he'd be sitting at the bar at Cowboys, and he'd be crying, I don't want to go to work, it's 4 a.m, I don't want to go to work. And I was like, James, you're like barely 20, like pull yourself together. Or the funny time at the Sky City Casino where he spent his rent money on roulette. Yeah, James, I remember those days. So also, what else have I got on here? Oh, I don't know if anyone else has got this happening to them. It's been really frustrating, but between my slippers and my stupid, like, fluffy jumper top, I have been getting these massive static shocks whenever I touch the fire door handle or the oven. And last night, the microwave. I touched the microwave, and I swear to everyone, I felt like my heart got jumped back into rhythmic beat. I flew across the kitchen. I was like, shit! And I don't know if it comes from like shitty, like fake material, like polyester or whatever. I mean, I'm telling you now, the slippers and my jumper are from Kmart, and that's not real, like, material. So, but holy shit, it gave me a hell of a fright. And I thought, wonder if anyone else has got that happening with static at the minute. And I'm only saying that because this morning at the gym, I went to touch the handle of the treadmill and I got static shock off that as well. I was like, am I just full of energy at the moment? I don't know. So between reading my 101 essays that will change the way you think book and organizing sort of some really fun habits, honestly, like for me, I love listening to other people's podcasts to get me some ideas and also to hear how other people do things. And I've gotten to this massive rotation where on Sunday night I have, between Google Podcasts and Spotify Podcast, I organize the two so that Monday is Google Podcasts, Tuesday is Spotify Podcasts, and I put them in order as to how I want to listen to them. And I don't know, last Monday I listened to 12 pods, and I have this little notepad. I've always got my finger on the buzzer. My head's definitely not in the sand. I'm keeping up with, all sorts of weird shit, especially financial advice. I'm really thriving on that at the minute. But it's time that's definitely well spent because, I sort of felt like I could always do my work with Netflix playing in the background and just something that's not heavy. I'm really big on working with a bit of background noise. But at the moment, for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I can honestly say I've listened to that many podcasts about the weirdest shit. I mean, the other day I was on the Stairmaster in the garage listening to conspiracy theories about Beyonce. And let me tell you, there are some. But it cracked me up and I thought, I wonder if other people do it like that. Do people just listen to pods and actually not take anything away from it that's, somewhat beneficial or life advice? I mean, that's what pods are there for, I suppose. It takes you away from what you're genuinely thinking about just to think about something else. And I don't know, I just wanted to share that and see if that's how people are doing this adventure. I don't know. The Warriors won on Friday, so I don't know what this means, but I do know that their next game is playing in Brisbane this Saturday coming. I am in Brisbane because Riverfire is on. My plan for this trip coming is it's Wednesday to Wednesday. I land at 6:30 into Brisbane. I'm so excited just to get there, but I'm a little excited to go down to the wedding sort of family and everything else, because I haven't seen a hotel swimming pool in well over a year, and the thought of being in warmer temperature and being near, drinks in a swimming pool just fills my cup right now. Even just the sand in your toes at the beach is exciting. But I have packed my microphones, not the one that I'm using at the moment because that's my big special fancy one. So there is a potential for a pod, and let me just tell you, because we are going to be near New South Wales, I have put the idea in my best mate's head to go to the Aldi. And I don't know if this is a well-known secret, so I feel like this is just going to blow everything out of the water. But the Aldi in New South Wales sells alcohol. And when I tell you, it's disgustingly cheap. I was on the website like Thursday last week, and they still sell their $3.50 red wine that I used to make into sangria. They have their 4-pack of vodka cruisers, but their casks are barely $7 for 5 litres of wine, and they do a rosé. So the fact that I'm going to be hanging out with my best mate down on the Gold Coast for my cousin's wedding with some cask wine and my podcast mics makes me feel like I might be able to turn him into thinking he can come on the pod, which makes me excessively happy because I will come to you guys live from the hotel bath. Not like, we won't be naked in the bath with the bath water or anything, but I always feel like a pod from the bathtub would be hectically funny, especially drunk on cask wine from Aldi, because that can't be the worst thing, right? And then after the wedding, which is Friday, we are going back up to Brizzy because Riverfire is on, and I get to catch up with some of my friends, but also the thought of seeing an air show before I get on my plane is super exciting. And then I'm hoping some of my family will be around on Monday and Tuesday, and I'll get to spend time with them before I get back on the plane on the Tuesday morning. So that's my real plan. But also something I wanted to drop into everyone is that people are very aware that in 2020 I lost 40 kilos and was pretty successful with my weight loss adventure. But I made a promise to myself that I would get back to Hawaii, and it was one of those things where I think that the actual wording was, if I lose 40 kilos, does anyone want to come to Hawaii with me? And randomly, Jetstar had its hectic sale. I mean, this was holy shit. They did Sydney to Honolulu for $500 return. I think it was last Wednesday. And I reached out to my friend and I just said, hey, listen, do you want to go to Hawaii? And she was like, yeah, I want to go to Hawaii. Why? What are you talking about? I says $500 from Sydney direct. And she was like, all right, sign me up. She was literally in a meeting, like a team meeting. She came out of this meeting. We booked it, like not even together. Like she booked her ticket, I booked mine. And we booked seats next to each other. And we're going to Hawaii next year. And I feel like I've come full circle with this weight loss thing because, yeah, I sort of let myself go in the past year. That's for certain. But I am so excited for this trip because I have unfinished business with Honolulu. That underwater sea life. Oh, Hanamanu Bay, I am coming back for you. So it was super spontaneous. I actually booked this trip with my shares from Suncorp. I withdrew them and I paid in Aussie dollars. So it wasn't like it was a part of my budget. I didn't break the bank or anything. It cracked me up. I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? But keeping this money in Australia, I was either going to spend it this weekend or I was going to spend it on the cruise on alcohol. I brought my ticket to Honolulu and it just makes me so happy. Something to look forward to, but also, you know, I'm just thriving. I don't really have a Tinder update. I am definitely putting that on pause. However, the best mate said to me, why don't you put on your profile that you're in Brisbane for certain dates? I thought, oh my God, I'm not even going to do that because what if my cousin has some really hot guy at her wedding? Like, I'm just saying that because she is stunning. She has beautiful friends. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, honestly, that Tinder thing's just on a little slight pause at the moment. I've had a bit going on, and yesterday I was over in Queenstown organising things for my hire truck. So between, having my job Monday to Friday and doing things on the weekend for my side hustle, things get a bit out of control. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to really contribute. Honestly, there's just this weird time in my life right now where I'm sort of planning a few things that are coming up, and it only sort of transpired last week when someone said to me, because of your Ninja Creamy and you're making ice cream, why don't you do like Danny Delivery and make it a thing? And I thought, you know what? This cracked me up. Not on the scale of being like an ice cream delivery girl, because no, that's just a bit lame. And if I can't even get ice cream to my brother in Queenstown, why the hell would I try and do it around Cromwell? No. However, with this whole idea of me putting money into owning a section or a batch or anything, this whole thing just cracks me up because I cop so much shit for what I said last time about dropping the ball on my own ideas of owning an asset such as a section. I just feel like it's cracking me up that my brother, who's cashed up to buy property, nothing in his sort of, not his price range, but what he needs it for fits what's around. And someone like me who's just looking for a piece of dirt can't find anything. However, a few thoughts have been swirling around in my mind as to the growth of where I live. And the other day when I was talking to my neighbour about where we should go for a drink for her birthday, the usual places came up and I was like, wow, when is something going to come into Cromwell that's new and exciting? And the whole Tinder thing cracked me up because I was talking to a guy the other day and I said, I was just at the Victoria Arms nightclub. And he said, oh, they have a nightclub? I said, yeah. But it sort of got me thinking, they don't market the nightclub very well. It is this dingy, scary black hole of, I don't know, darkness. But like, when is something else coming into the area that's new and exciting? So what I'm actually going to do is brainstorm while I'm in Australia with some friends, and just to see if this might take flight. But I have a couple of ideas up my sleeve for potential ideas for Cromwell that I definitely could put into motion. And listen, if I can make a podcast successful and, get my brother a part ownership in a hire truck in the space of a year, there ain't no limits. you're only going as far as you think you can go. But I see an opportunity because I'm really like aware of a few things at the moment, and I want to give the people what they want. Not in the sense of the nightclub. However, I definitely am brainstorming for some ideas that the Cromwell region needs from someone who's lived abroad, but also, where we are lacking as a township. And there's a lot of things. There is a lot of there is a lot of things. But I think when you have your head screwed on and you're sort of in a position where you financially can sort something, why not do it? And I'm so excited for something that might actually transpire. And it definitely wasn't on my goals this year, that's for sure, because I'm one of those people that I did set myself a couple of goals and I've only sort of achieved a couple. Well, one. I have to actually go back over them because I don't remember what they were. That's how terrible I was at keeping on top of things. But the most I'm proud of is my podcast because that's mine, whereas the truck is, Tommy's problem. However, some other stuff that I want to sort of build in an empire, not Danny Dot's delivery of ice cream, but something I'm working on, which I cannot wait to share. But I got asked a question the other day, and that was, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time with this podcast? And listen, at the end of the day, if someone like Dominic Harvey, who was on the Edge radio station for 20 plus years, I'm pretty sure it was 20 years, and he left to do a podcast, which just, in the past 6 weeks turned over 1 million listeners, and he can do that full time and, do anything else that he wants to do. He is an actual person that is well known in New Zealand as a radio broadcaster. Someone like myself, who's this little dot in the pond, who has a couple of ideas and, the support of a podcast, I would love to do something like, kind of like seminars or like a talk show, not really like, Ricky Lake or Sally Jesse Raphael from back in the day, or Jerry Springer. What was that other guy's name? Jeremy Kyle. But no, I want to get myself out there. I'm not a professional speaker as such, but I definitely am one of those people where people gravitate towards and have conversations with, and I'm not afraid to, drum up a bit of noise. I'm not like, the Taskmaster TV show or anything like that. No. I have a few ideas and I'm so excited to put them in motion. That's the weird thing, is that I can see myself doing these things. I don't know if I'll be insurance forever. No, I don't think I will at all, because at the end of the day, that was just sort of like a cover up of when the pandemic happened. I'm good at it, but I'm also really good at this. So let's see what happens. But for now, I'm going to go get on that plane in 2 days' time, go and see some friends, brainstorm, see my family, show them that I'm not dead. I've just let myself go in the past year. But also come back with a brand new idea as to what next. And I will share that with you. But maybe in a year's time, I could put out an invitation for a Danny Dot get together, and it would be so fun. But in the meantime, take care, everyone. This has been a wild ride for my Aussie update of my podcast number 21. Take care, look after one another, and as always, please reach out. I love talking to you all. Take care, and I will podcast again soon. Bye.